Activities in the bond markets were mixed this week as investors' interest in long-tenured instruments was seen in the $225 billion bond auction. Chuka Nwachukwu, head of bonds trading at UBA, joins me for a weekly wrap of activities at the fixed income and FX markets. Chuka, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Esther.
Bring us up to speed. I've spoken to a number of traders this week, and it's been a mixed bag. We've seen mixed sentiment at the market across the yield curve, from the treasuries down to the bond market. Of course, I talked a bit about the corporate bond market and the heavy borrowing we're expecting from the fiscal authorities. And a key theme with my conversations this week has been yields trending higher. That appears to be one highlight from this week. But I'd like to hear your own perspective on the yields. Upward trending of yields, and if this is sustainable, and when we're talking about yields climbing, how far high can these yields go?
Okay, thank you very much. So let's start with the bond auction. So on Monday, there was a bond auction of 225 billion, like you said, was on offer, and then about 115 billion was sold. So we had a new entrance into the bond space auction, which is the 2032, which came out at 12.5. The reissue one, which is 2025, came out at 10%, and then the longer end, which is 2042, came out at 12.9 from 12.7 the previous auction. That's about 20 basis points upward movement. So the trend, like I mentioned last edition, from April ending to May, we see upward movement in yield, and that's what we have seen now, especially with the result that came out, and you see slight movement on the yield side.
All right, let's talk about the Naira quickly. I'd like us to go back to the bond, but I want to quickly touch on the Naira. I don't believe I've spoken extensively on the Naira this week. I know there was a CBN Smith's auction today. Are you able to tell us, are the results out, and where's the Naira trading right now against the dollar?
Okay, the Naira is trading at the IE window at 418. So it's been a bit stable at this rate. The SMI auction, which is a weekly auction from CBN, the result is not out yet, but obviously it's just going to basically have CBN pouring dollars into the market using the bank space. So hopefully by Monday we get the result of that.
But what's been the trend in terms of demand and supply? I know that the CBN, is doing its best, to, offer as many, as much dollars as it can, especially to the FPIs, etc. But if you could just give us an idea of what the trend has been in terms of, to what extent demand, supply has been matching demand.
The trend has been stable. We've just seen it move between 416 to 418, and it's a slight depreciation over the past 1 or 2 weeks. But then it's been stable around this this level. CBN, like you said, the demand is huge. It's still there, but CBN is also doing its best, like you said, to also maintain the level of insanity that we expect to see on the demand side. So yeah, there's really much they can do in terms of the demand, which will always be there, but they are trying their best to ensure that the supply is improved, and they do that every week and is improving.
Let me ask you this: can we expect to have see a vibrant corporate bond market this year? That's another conversation I've been having this week. We've talked a lot about how the government is borrowing significantly at the domestic market, but what does that leave the corporates in terms of, benchmark, and what investors could potentially be asking, for higher, rates from these corporates?
Okay, yeah, the corporate bonds are, yeah, they have a lot of them coming into the market, but they have to compete with that of the federal government bonds, which presently, like you said, the yield is going up. So if you need to attract investors on that end, they need to do much more. Probably if we see something around 13.5, 14 levels, we have interest on that level. But as long as they are still within the parameters or within the yield level of the FGM bond. FGM bond will still be more attractive than the corporate bond.
Okay, let's talk about rates that we've seen so far this week. I believe on the 364-day, correct me if I'm wrong, still somewhere around 4.7, correct me if I'm wrong also, but give us a preview into trading next week. I know, we do have a public holiday next week, so it's not going to be a full week of trading for the markets, but just, what is your forecast and what can we expect?
Okay, the T-bill auction, I'm sure that's what you meant, came out on Wednesday. It was on Wednesday, and then we saw a slight movement in yield, about 19 basis points movement in yield. And so it's also boils down to, area forecast that yield will trend up upward. Next week, like you said, we have about 2 trading week days. We really don't see much activity happening other than people just trying to sell down some of their position which they won at the auction, and then try to position for the month of May, which, as expected, to see upward movement in yield beginning from then.